Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to The Element Podcast.
It's got me looking for a dance floor. Grab a daddy in your bonfire brightest day. I come in, eat, break it, crush, make it, sugar, shake it, out the leg, and everything is going my way. I got a long-legged girlfriend, hopping out the shotgun, nothing like a small town.
What's happening, all my woods people? I'm here today, and I am the Whitetail Weatherman.
You are the Whitetail Weatherman, sir. Every podcast opens with some weather report that's usually not applicable for the actual day. It's usually a couple days previous.
That's right. And then, not to mention, nobody's from Texas listening to this thing. So.
That's right. Actually, no, there's 14% of you are from Texas, so we very much appreciate that. Now's a good time to say this. We haven't discussed this much, but our friends in Massachusetts who are in second place for listeners. Can you believe that?
Really?
Massachusetts. Thanks, Massachusetts.
There's no way a Boston person is really liking our
apparently,
accent.
there's quite a few folks. I think it's a comedy thing. They they just listen to us because they're like, let's try to interpret what they're saying.
That's right.
I don't know. But no, we've got a lot of support all across the nation. And thank y'all so much for listening. But it's really cool to kind of see the spread of the Element Podcast, which is a good thing. When you usually say the spread, that's usually like either like a football play or it's like some disease is going places, and we don't want that to happen. But anyways, in short, thank y'all very much for listening, and thank you for tuning in for your weekly Whitetail Weather Report from Tyler.
Right. Can we go ahead and get to that? It is sunny and 65 degrees.
Nice
It is a good day, man, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I just always feel like it's a good day, you know? It's just a good day to when I'm having a good day, you know what I mean? So, anyway, we have got a guy that's coming on the podcast here pretty quick, and he's a real cool dude, real level-headed guy that you want to learn deer hunting tactics from. Josh Smith from Wild Carrot Deer Attractants. This is a episode about things that are going to be smelling in the woods. And so hopefully they're not smelling you, but they're smelling these deer scents that you're using. I don't know a whole lot about this. KC, you don't have a whole lot of experience with scents either, right?
My most scent experience has been probably 10 or 15 years ago when my parents owned an actually really nice piece of property that they ended up selling, which is still a point of contention in the family. They owned this property, and my dad would take a cotton ball and screw it in the end of an arrow and shoot it to the back side of the property before he went over there and hunted.
No way.
Yeah, dude, it worked. And seriously, he'd shoot this thing like 500 yards, like just arc this thing way over there, and then show up over there 30 minutes later, and deer would be out. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like the most effective tactic ever, but like my dad is convinced that it works well. Yeah. Another thing that I used to do very similarly is I used to bring a slingshot to the stand with me, and I rigged up these things that had it was like a 3/8 inch nut, and I would put the cotton ball inside the nut, and then I would get up in there, and I had these inside of a Ziploc bag pre-soaking in scent, and then I would distribute the scent via the slingshot from my stand to where I wanted it to be. That didn't really work very
Shooting
good.
nuts all over the state.
That's right, dude. That's right. Cotton balls with chrome nuts just all over El Dorado, Texas, down there. I think it was a neat idea, but I don't know. It's not perfected like the wild carrot system is pretty perfected.
Yeah, I see that for sure. I haven't used it a whole lot. As far as like, I think I got a Tinks, one time before for Christmas or something like that before the season. And tried to use that. And if you can use a bottled scent without getting it on you, you are a magician.
You
sir.
are. And I'm not. So
it is not. I just do not like sitting there smelling my urine hand for long periods of time during a sit for whitetail. Apparently, you don't mind it as much. I think you've had some urine to drink before.
Urine drink, That's good. And that's why I couldn't use scents, because I kept running through them while I was sitting in the stand.
Just drinking them.
Ooh, this is gross. We're getting so bad.
We've told that, right, on the podcast.
We have, but just so you know, I drank my own pee out of a bottle with Tyler. Not long before Tyler peed on me, so there's that
right.
too. So this episode's all about pee, guys.
Listen, if you buddy hunt, make sure you pee downwind, okay?
Yeah.
Don't pee upwind of your buddy that's sitting below you. That's what you get for putting me 33 feet in a tree, dude.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
Oh well, you know what? We're getting pretty close to a place called Gorditas, and I think I can smell it from here. So, speaking of smells, let's get Josh on the podcast. How about?
Sounds good.
All right, so now on the phone we have Josh Smith with Wild Carrot Deer Attractant. Josh, is it feeling good in your neck of the woods yet?
It is finally, man. This past week has been the first break in hot, dry weather that we've had in a couple of months, man. It's we went basically from June until late September with almost no rainfall. It's just super dry. The last couple weeks before now, we were literally hotter than Honduras. So it's been rough, It's hard to scrape together motivation to be outside. I work outside, so when I have time off and it's 100 degrees out, it's pretty hard for me to break out of that AC.
Yeah, you're in Tennessee, is that right?
Yes, sir. East Tennessee, just south of Knoxville.
Cool. So that's considered the South, right?
Yeah,
I mean, I would put y'all in that for sure.
Yeah,
so.
they got fried chicken there.
Oh, dude, they got good fried chicken there. I guarantee you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you consider Kentucky the South, then you damn sure better include us.
That's true. That is the state to the north for sure.
I mean, there's country music in that state, right? That's the capital, so it's
right.
It's got to be Southern. I don't know. People would probably disagree with that statement right now.
I knew a guy who lived in Nashville for a while. He's a sports writer, and he always claimed that Nashville had like the worst weather of anyone that you can possibly like any place you can possibly live, because you get the hot weather of the summer, but then you also get these blizzards like almost every winter. And he said it's just like the hottest and the coldest that you can possibly be in one city. So
yeah, it's an interesting mix. We're just on the west side, actually in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, so we get some different kinds of weather, precipitation coming across from the west hits those mountains and dumps on us at some times. And then, like I said, sometimes it's just bone dry. I know some guys that are actually just now putting in food plots because we just haven't had enough rain to even break up the soil.
Man, that's pretty late, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to the Smokies and fish or anything?
Yep. Yeah, we like to go up to Sitka Creek. There's some good trout fishing up there. I have 4 kids, and my second oldest son is a huge trout fan. He lives for trout fishing, so we like to get up there and enjoy that as much as we can. It's beautiful country.
Well, we would get along, man. That's I hope my son becomes a trout junkie too. He actually netted a Gila trout last year on a vacation, so that was a pretty cool little moment. It was actually a really jealous moment for Dad because I hadn't actually caught one at that time, and I'm like, this dude is over here netting them out of the water. I can't even get one to bite a fly. What's going on?
The wrong tactic.
I know I don't know how legal it was, but I can't say that I was involved because I was downstream. So.
I think they usually kind of turn a blind eye if you're under a certain age.
Yeah, he didn't know any better, that's for sure. But who knows? Dad might have got ticket if the game warden came around. So anyway, well, dude, so you are basically attempting a new endeavor that sounds like, I told you this earlier off air, that you probably won't shoot a deer for a while. It sounds like you might go several years here without shooting a deer. You might be having to buy some beef. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I've always been a big fan of bow hunting since I was a kid. I grew up shooting bows with my dad. We did a lot of 3D stuff, and I just always, honestly, before I even had a love for bow hunting, I had a love for bow shooting. So just the target shooting has always been a lot of fun to me. And just recently, kind of by happenstance, I received a hand-me-down longbow from my grandpa. So I've been practicing quite a bit with that, and I wouldn't say I'm terrible, but I wouldn't say I'm great either. So, so it's definitely going to be a process, kind of learning the ins and outs, and my method of choice is more instinctual shooting, so that's going to take even longer, to just kind of get comfortable with that. But I am inspired because when I first picked it up, I zipped some good shots in there, and I thought, this thing might not be so bad. So I'm excited about it, and then honestly, this all escalated so quickly. This is my mom's grandfather that I'm referring to. And my dad's dad had an old Ben Pearson Pinto recurve that I also just got. And he had a great northern bush bow, long bow from, late 80s.
Man,
that I've also got. So I went from never shooting traditional. Now I'm like, I've got all I'm spoiled rotten.
Yeah, you're a collector now.
Yeah, right. This all happened in a matter of about 3 weeks. So,
wow.
So I kind of just dove in, and I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to it. And it's kind of a neat story. My dad's dad actually, back in the day, we're from Michigan originally, and my mom's parents and dad's parents both were in the logging industry in Michigan, about a half an hour apart from each other. And my dad's dad used to cut quite a bit of red elm and supply some of the bowyers around there. And there's a really good chance that this bow I've got has some red elm that one of my grandpas cut for the bowyer to make a bow for my other grandpa.
So that's cool.
So it's it's very cool. It's that's kind of part of the reason. It's not just like I'm diving into it for something new. I feel like this is tugged at the heart pretty good. So
that's an interesting point, man, because I feel like this happens a lot through like traditions that are in hunting and elsewhere, where there's this thing that gets popularized by someone, and it's like pop culture to do it now. But it also really means something to other people, and it's I don't want to say ruins, but it kind of falsifies a little bit what some people are trying to do from a pure motive standpoint. Because
sure.
and we're talking about the traditional archery thing right now, because it's like, it's kind of a popping thing, like a subculture or something within the hunting industry right now, to like, oh, I'm going to get my longbow out, and then people do it for a year, and they're like, no thanks. But they don't have that connection like you do to it. So I hope that it doesn't, I hope that doesn't sour you on it in any way, because it's really cool that you have like this, this deep connection to it. Like, I don't know, when you started talking about the type of wood that's in there, that maybe your granddad cut that, it's just, that is just the coolest story, man. It's so neat.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, and I'm fortunate to be in the position to have had such a good relationship with so many of my grandparents. My parents were young when I was born, so it's been of a benefit to me to grow up with basically, multiple sets of parents, basically. So there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of family ties involved in every time I hear that twang of that string,
Man, that's cool, dude. There's something, I mean, I'm sure it's been said a million times, but there's something really cool about when you release an arrow out of a trad bow and it goes where it's supposed to and it flies like it's kind of tuned. It's like, that's a cool feeling, man. It's like throwing a rock at a street sign from 30 yards and hitting it. You know what I mean? It's like, dadgummit.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's just, there's something intriguing about the variability and the degree of uncertainty involved. You know, everybody's got this compound bow tuning thing down to such a science that I'm not saying it's easy, because it's certainly not, but it's a lot more consistent. You know,
Sure.
so it's like having that instinct shot, you know, it's just a different kind of thing.
Yeah, I did that back 2013. I picked up the recurve for a while and shot it, and then I missed elk at 11 yards and decided that I wouldn't shoot it anymore. And I think it was because I could not, I didn't try to wrap my head around the tuning thing. I just shot arrows. And
Sure.
are you having somebody to kind of help you with that? Because I know it's super complex. Or is that something you're like diving into as well?
I'm kind of diving into that as well.
Yeah.
I like to learn. You know, I just like to learn new things all the time. And I've really gotten into the tuning aspect. I watch a lot of Clay Hayes. Watch a lot of his videos. You guys familiar with him?
I think I've heard him on a podcast or something, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of self bows, does a lot of like general woodsmanship videos and stuff online. Yeah. And has basically a bow building and tuning instructional course that you can access online. So
cool.
That's been super beneficial. You know, there's a lot of great resources through Three Rivers Archery too, where you can learn about, you know, how adjusting your brace height is going to affect your arrow flight, and you know how different spined arrows are going to come off there differently, and it's a ton of information for sure, and it's not something I'm going to master anytime soon, but I'm committed. You know, I don't mind that it's going to take a while.
Yeah,
that's cool.
You have a goal with it, or is it just something you're kind of just going to progress with?
I want to eat something.
There you go.
Nice.
Yep,
cool.
That's really my only goal. I don't have, you know, like we kind of talked about before, there is a 100% chance that I'm launching an arrow at a spike if he walks in close enough.
I love it, man.
Yep.
There was a 100% chance I was going to do that on Tuesday evening, and it didn't happen. So,
You got to have the spike before you can launch the arrow.
That's right.
You know, so that was our issue for sure. It was going to happen, but it didn't. So
I don't really have any delusions of grandeur or anything on going out there and seeking only 150-inch bucks, and you know I'm realistic.
yeah,
I don't know, man. Tennessee's a big buck state now. Y'all got the world record and all that, right? So
yeah, we do. There's really good hunting if you go about 2.5 hours west to where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm at, it's fine. I love to hunt here. But it's ridge country. There's almost no agriculture at all. So everything hinges on mass crop and you know, just it's a little trickier to get it down pat.
Yeah.
That's the case.
Well, we had a buddy hunt some public in Tennessee. He's just moved there. And it was the same evening that we hunted, and Casey was wanting to shoot a spike. We saw zero things except for a hawk that almost hit me in the head. And he was like, well, what'd y'all see? And I'm like, okay, this dude has a good report for us. Like, you don't do that. So anyway, I told him we didn't have any luck, didn't see any deer. And he was like, well, I saw 30 does and 3 bucks. And we're like, this guy, and he's, it's just a new public, parcel that he really just like saw from the road and was like, all right, I'm going to go out there and sit in this field. So, I mean, I guess there's probably some opportunity for you there, but it sounds like you kind of have a spot locally pretty close there to hunt, right?
Yeah, we do. We've got some family ground that we hunt here. And last year, actually, I messed around with OnX quite a bit and found what used to be a TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. They're kind of a government-based energy company out of locally, a lot of hydroelectric and stuff like that. And they own a ton of property. Well, they owned a boat launch that sits on like 4.5 acres, and it had been abandoned. It looks like 25, 30 years ago. It hasn't been kept up at all, and it's wooded, and it's on a back road, and it's surrounded by close to 1,800 acres of one owner private land. So, you know, there's a handful of guys that hunt that big piece, but I kind of got into a little bit of a honey hole.
Man, I just that is the dream for me, is to find this like 4-acre spot, you know, that like nobody knows about. And we've done so much like just scathing of the maps to try to find that in Texas. And you see all these, you know, when you're on OnX, you see all these like possible potential public land places. And in Texas, that means that it's state land and it's leased by somebody with cattle and a lot of money, and they don't let you hunt. So it's like, dadgummit, you know, we're pretty much confined to the places that everybody knows here. So we don't have just a ton of public land, unfortunately, but
I think this little piece that I found, I think that there are several people that have known about it, found out about it over the years, but the private landowner that surrounds it has been very adamant about running people off of there. And up until I confronted him with OnX, you know, he was trying to run me off of there, and I'm like, look, you know, here's property boundaries. This is public land. I'm only in here bow hunting, and I know where your property starts, and I won't set foot on it. So, you know, I'll be back here. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it weird? I mean, like, did it ever get weird after you kind of showed him that, or was he pretty much like backing off at that point?
No, he was good after I showed him that. It was a little weird before because he came, you know, he was trying to tell me that it was his private property. So it was a little tense for a second, but not a big deal at all. He's a nice enough guy. So, it's fine. He did, however, come through there with one of his buddies squirrel hunting while I was sitting in a stand in there.
Yeah, that's a nice little tactic to run people off. Real subtle.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
so you're I guess something that might be key for getting a deer in front of 10 or 15 yards in front of you with a longbow. I guess that's your range. I mean, are you looking at shooting longer than that, or are you going to stay pretty close to the cuff with your shots?
I'll stay 20 or less.
Gotcha.
I've got, depending on the situation, you know, if it's perfect broadside, I'll zip one at 20 and feel good about it. If there's any kind of quartering action, I prefer to be a little closer.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
So yeah. And I'm just hopeful that my brain can function enough to distinguish that at the time.
Yeah, dude, that's the key thing. We were talking yesterday, Casey and I, actually, about kind of the same situation. Is like, you talk about, you told us you know that you hunt from the ground quite a bit, and we've hunted from the ground the last couple of years as well quite a bit, and you know, that can sometimes, I guess in certain country, at least where we've hunted in the past, turn into a pretty long shot sometimes. And so we were talking about, man, he was like, are you prepped to shoot a 50-yard shot? You know, and I'm like, I don't know if I am, you know, like I can shoot that all day in my yard here, but it's just a different animal, no pun intended, that you would, you know, be shooting at a live animal at 50 yards. It's just, it's a different deal, man. I mean, when you put nerves and all that into it, I mean, people talk about hunting, you know, it's not really, you know, like life and death. We can go to the store and buy meat and stuff like that. But I mean, you're about to take the life of something. It's something. It
really is life and death.
It really is, you know, it is, man. And it's, it can be kind of a heavier thing for certain people as well. And that's one thing, I've noticed, you know, on some of the YouTube comments we get here and there, and we try to put everything out there, whether we miss or whether we hit high or whether we, you know, smoke it or whatever. And, you know, people, I think, are really judgmental and not understanding that, like, people across the board are going to handle situations differently. And some people are going to just have more nerves. Some people, it means more to them. You know, there's just different ways of viewing it and different reactions that we all have. So, yeah, it's a weird thing to try to in that moment where you're really just so zoned in and focused and almost blackout. It's hard to think about, like, you know, are you going to actually pull off of that shot, or are you just going to go, man, I've worked all season for this and now I'm pretty much in range. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've more than once passed on what would have been a good shot just because I didn't have the confidence that I could pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could shoot 60 yards even with my compound at home into a target and have no problem with accuracy. But when you're in the woods, I like to think that I'm accurate to about half the distance that I'd be in my backyard.
Yeah, that's a pretty good thought there for sure. I like that. I think that makes sense to me as well.
Yeah.
I have a much harder time with that. I'm the opposite. I like kind of go Superman mode. Like I can do anything. Like I can pull it off, and I don't know. I missed an elk this year and hit one high, which neither of those situations I felt that way. They were both good, odd shots. I just kind of messed it up. But like in the past, I know that I've like not been able to range something and be like, oh, I'm good enough at guessing distances. I got this. It's fine. And then, just flat out miss terribly. Right. And I don't know. Sure. Have you learned to how to be what's the not pessimistic, but I guess a realist when it comes to your abilities, or is that something that's like in your nature?
That's probably just the way I've always been. Yeah. I mean, if like I was talking about passing on a shot when I don't feel like I have the confidence, there are times when the confidence is there, and I'm like you, I'm like, I got this, not a problem, no big deal. And that's when you release the arrow. But when I have any second guesses at all, I just ease her back down, wait for another time, because you never know. I've wounded animals in the past, and I do not enjoy that. Yeah. It's a terrible, terrible feeling. So it's not something I want to have repeated.
This may sound shallow too. I think I know what you're saying as far as it's not something that's fun. It's not terrible, or it's terrible. It's something that, like, I think you're talking about probably being remorseful that you wounded an animal and it has to kind of suffer. But there's also, like I said, this might sound kind of shallow, but there's also this whole how bad do you really want to walk around in the woods trying to just find one speck of blood for 24 hours? That's just not fun either as well. So it's right. Like there's just so much in wounding an animal that's not fun, man. And so like to me, there are a lot of tactics that you can use to get an animal into closer range. And to me, I'm always trying to get a closer shot. Like I will take the 10-yarder all day. That's what I want, And yes. And so, what are as far as, for you've probably got some expertise in the whole scent deer attractant kind of game, and we don't really know a whole lot about that. It's not something that I've used a whole lot. You sent us some stuff last year that we used a little bit, and KC hasn't used a ton of it either. So it's just not something that we're super familiar with. So just could you fill us in on and I know this is a vague question, but I mean, maybe take us through the season, different stages of the rut. How do we use scents to get a deer in close? And then how do you also, you're using a deer's nose, but at the same time, like that's their best defense as well. How do you keep them, coming into a scent that's going to put them in bow range, but not in your scent cone, your personal scent cone?
Sure. Well, my methods are my own, and I'm glad to share them with you, but it doesn't mean that it's right for everybody,
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people out there that disagree over any and everything they can. Mm-hmm. So I have no issue with that. But personally, what I like to do is, early season, I'm using our products obviously all the time because it's research. It's an investment in myself to always be using those products, so I know them in and out. Mm-hmm. and I know exactly what we can expect and kind of how the deer are going to respond to a certain extent, because at the end of the day, they're wild animals and they're going to behave however they choose. So mm-hmm. So it's tricky in that regard. But what early season, it's hot, and I'm generally using a cover scent. And what we manufacture are deer urines, and we patented a packaging system that keeps them fresh without refrigeration for a long time. And it also, our single-use packs make it easy to use and keep that stuff off your hands and clothes, mm-hmm. which is the big benefit. Yeah. But I like to use it. Yeah. It's there's nothing worse than getting that stuff all over you and not realizing it. You know,
I opened one up yesterday and to put it on a limb, and I was thankful that I did not have that on me. That stuff is stout, man.
Yeah, it is. It's very effective, you know, and you know how intense a deer's sense of smell is. Mm-hmm. So if that's strong to you, then you can imagine how far out a deer could be and get a whiff of that thing. Mm-hmm. And what I like to do, you know, we offer regular buck, regular doe, dominant buck, and estrus doe scents. In early season, and we also have a synthetic. Early season, I like to use those regular buck and regular doe scents just as a cover. And I've had good experience with them covering up my stink just from being sweaty. You know, it's you can't even get out of the truck where I'm at early season without just sweat pouring off of you. So I find that in my experience, it's a great cover because it kind of gives deer a calming effect. You know, when they smell that fresh urine, they know that deer that basically are in that area right now. Mm-hmm. You know, so they observe that as a safe travel corridor, a safe place to be. And so I like to use those as a cover.
How do you know that that's effective at that point? Is it a situation where a deer's downwind and they just don't act like anything happens and they just act normal? Is that how you know it worked? Yeah,
that's the best evidence for me.
Yeah.
I don't spray down with a bunch of scent killer. You know, I don't usually wear a scent lock suit or anything like that. I have some of that clothing that, you know, I've got the same hunting clothing I've had since I was 14. So I got all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's really across the board for what I use for gear or whatever. But I'm mostly just the comfort level and having deer downwind of me. The biggest example that I had when it really became clear to me just how effective it could be using these covers was Kentucky 2 years ago. I sat early September in a stand that I had to walk almost a mile into, and it was mid 90s, you know, just hot. And I was sweating to death. I could smell myself and was just covered up with deer sitting a field edge, you know, and I didn't have great leaf cover in front of me in my stand either. Like I was visible enough to where they could spot me if they were looking for me. And I just never spooked a deer. I had bucks, does, 38 deer come in on that one evening sit and never spooked a one. And they're not deer that are super familiar with human scent. You know, there's not a lot of people in and out of that area. So the odds of successfully pulling that off are pretty slim. So that just was one example that was reassuring to me that this is having an effect. You know, there's no way these deer are not winding something. But if I've got this up here, at least they're winding deer scent over top of my scent. I know that they're still smelling me. There's no way they're not. A deer can smell, you know, I can't even 20 some different scents at one time in a single second they can process. So,
wow.
you know, they're smelling you too, but they're smelling that in a much stronger rate. And I think it overrides a little bit of what you got going on.
Yeah, sure. So at what point do you change things up? You say early season, you're talking about cover scents, just kind of a generic, regular buck or doe kind of scent. At what point are you switching things up to more of an attractant style?
Well, I usually do that late September. We start kicking around mock scrapes. I like to use a dominant buck urine on mock scrapes. We have great success with that. And I've used doe estrus on mock scrapes too and had good success with that as well. And we've got tons of trail camera, footage and pictures and video of that whole process and deer coming into those scrapes on our website and on our social media. So great examples of that. I start with that dominant buck on the mock scrape.
So real quick, how, I guess there's at least maybe people are bigger buck killers than me in KC, but how dominant is too dominant? At what point, what size of deer, what age class of deer is going to be attracted to that, and what age class of deer or size of deer is going to go, I know this is probably dependent on their personality and stuff, but are they going to does if I'm looking to shoot a spike with my longbow, if I use dominant buck, is that going to be something that spooks him? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something that is a concern for a lot of folks, but we don't have any evidence of any spooking like that. Part of the idea of using that dominant buck in a mock scrape is that it tends to hold does. It'll draw in like a matriarchal doe because they'll search out a dominant buck, and they know from the scent of our dominant buck urine has tarsal gland extract in it as well. And the idea there is that it'll help to hold does, and if you have does, you have bucks.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So that's a big part of the thought process behind that. And then as we get closer to mid to late October, those scrapes are heating up, rut activity starting to pick up into the pre-rut. Then I'll start busting out a little more estrus doe and using it as a drag a little more often, just to kind of get that scent spread out a little more in the woods, and direct it toward where I'm going to be set up. And I had great success. The biggest buck I ever shot came in nose down on one of my scent trails from an estrus doe lure, and it's just a cool thing to see. That's how they reproduce. There's really no argument to the effectiveness of a doe and estrus scent. That's how the bucks are finding them. So if you can successfully convince that buck that you are a doe and estrus, then odds are one of them's going to find you eventually.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. Nothing works every time, obviously,
right.
But we have had great success using these scents, and the quality of the product that we put into the package is awesome. It comes from a farm with super high quality control standards, stainless steel food grade collection facility that's kept super clean, and there's zero fecal contamination, just a quality product, and the package does a great job of keeping it that way until you're in the woods and bust it open.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's talk a little bit about that package stuff. So in the pack that you get, it usually comes with actually a I don't know, the easiest way for me to describe it is like a reel, and it's almost toy-like, and that's what you use. Not in a bad way, but like it just reminds you of something like you'd hook up to a Hot Wheels car, right, or something. But
similar. Yeah, it's if you picture, it's basically like what you would think of a janitor having his keys hooked to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like the
that's
same kind
of
idea. Yeah, that's what I think of. Yeah, or a name tag. That like a security badge you have to pull out. Yep, it's the same sort of idea, except for ours is adjustable in length. It stays out to the length that you pull it. When you release the little button, it stays locked at that length until you push the button.
So miniature dog leash thingy is what it is. That's what you put in there for to use as a drag, and I think that's really cool and really intuitive. I feel like the drag thing is something that's I don't know, it's kind of lost some popularity in the past 10 or 15 years. I know that it's like one of my granddad's like old killer tactics, right? Like he takes a thumbtack and puts a cotton swab on his heel and walks in with it or whatever. And that's the old way of doing it. And now you got like the cool new age way. Do you feel like that's surely the tactic hasn't lost its effectiveness, right? Like, I mean, why don't people use that more, and why is it like a big part of your hunting?
Well, it's just things change. The people's practices shift as time goes on, and I think a lot of it has to do with popular opinion, and I think a lot of it also has to do with the amount of products out there that are not quite as effective. Maybe quality control is not quite as good on the front end. And guys will have a bad experience with one product and write off a whole group. I know how many guys have you heard of that shot a Rage Broad had a malfunction and they're fixed blade only from now on. Has nothing to do with Schwacker or whoever else, but they won't shoot another mechanical again.
Yeah, that's right.
It's similar to that. And then you also have the fact that you don't need to use scents to kill a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I hear so many people pushing. Well, I don't believe in them. I don't need to use them. You know, I'm not a scent guy, and that's fine. I don't spend a lot of energy talking those guys into using our products. You know, I have no, if whatever makes you happy in the woods, if it's legal and you're ethical, then get after it. You know, it doesn't bother me. But yeah, it's I try not to put too much effort into that, because usually the guys that are really pushing that envelope of scents are a waste of time or whatever are spending hours and hours planting food plots, you know, using, you know, like fiber optic bow sights on a compound bow shooting 380 feet per second. You don't necessarily need that either, you know.
Yeah.
Like how far are you going to go? You know, guys used to, the best bow hunters that we all know and love from the past didn't wear camouflage. So, you know, it's just a personal tactics thing. And as far as that goes, you know, if a guy doesn't like to use them, then that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that.
Sure.
But if a guy wants to increase his odds, like we all do in one way or another, and he's not opposed to using scents, then we always invite him to give us a try, because we think that we produce one of the highest quality scents out there.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it's the best, obviously, but but yeah, it's a great product, and we stand behind it.
So tell us, you know, since you do use that drag system as kind of one of your tactics, what's the ideal setup for doing that? Because I'm sure it doesn't always work, you know, whenever you're talking at different times in the season. But then also, I'm sure wind direction and you know, stand placement and all that kind of stuff has to, like, to make it all come together right. Like, there's got to be some certain scenarios that it is actually a good idea to use a drag, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like pre-rut, when the rut starts heating up, that's when I'm using those drags, because that's when bucks are starting to cruise. You know, they're covering a little more ground, looking for those does and estrus. So if you are busting one of those lures open and dragging it into your stand the last 150 yards or so, and a buck comes across that trail, you got a 50% chance he's going to head your way. You know, if he picks up on that scent trail, he might go the way you came in away from you. There's a chance that'll happen, you know, but if he picks up that scent trail, he's going to be interested. Deer are super curious by nature. So especially when there's something sexual involved, that just piques their curiosity all the more.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I like to employ that drag system. And a lot of the time I'll use our estrus doe and I'll double it in conjunction with the dominant buck to kind of simulate a chase.
Ooh,
nice.
I like it.
And drag them in together and then hang them near my stand. And obviously you want to be upwind. You want that scent to be upwind of your stand.
So you don't have to sit there and smell it the whole time, for one.
Downwind, you know, and downwind to where deer are going to be coming through from you. You want them to be picking that thing up and not picking you up.
Yeah.
So just strategically locating that based on wind direction is your best bet. And I like to hang them in close enough to my stand that when a deer comes in and sniffs on that thing, he's going to delay a few seconds and give me a good opportunity at a broadside shot, hopefully.
So when you're using a drag system like that, you drag it in and then you hang the what do we call this, a scent tab or
something like that.
You take that same one and hang it.
Yep. I'll clip them right off of that reel and zip it back up, you know, and then go ahead and just hang them right through the eyelet that's on the package on a stick. And usually I'll do that about lick and branch height. That way, if one comes cruising through, they get a chance to really sniff on that thing. And we've got some awesome videos of that. They'll come in and just munch on it.
Really?
That's weird.
That is weird.
It is, yeah.
It's about as weird
really
as
strange.
the elk licking the cow pee the other day.
Yeah, we had this big bull like ate dirt where the cow peed. It was real strange. They're crazy, man.
So how do you like, I feel like that as you're walking in, I'm a fast walker. Which probably isn't great. But, like, how do I keep that thing from smoking the back of my pant leg the whole time, you know?
Yeah, if you're having issues with that, shorten it up a little.
Okay.
You know, if it's flopping around and hitting you in the back of the leg, it's stretched out too long and catching sticks or something and you know, flinging up forward. So if you just shorten it up about 6 inches long, it just kind of hangs off the back of your boot just far enough to not slap you.
Yeah, I got you. So what about, are you taking like rubber gloves in or anything when you detach that thing? Do you get, I would imagine that it could flop around and pretty much contaminate scent-wise the whole thing. Does it get on you?
Sure. Well, what you can do, our 10-packs come in a resealable pouch. What I usually do is dump the contents out into the front small pocket of my pack, and then I've got that empty resealable pouch that I can use for the trash.
Oh, okay.
That way I don't have to handle it too much. A lot of guys use rubber gloves. There's no issue with that at all. You unclip from your boot and hang it on a limb using that rubber glove if you're worried about getting it on your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But man, honestly, I work with so much deer piss now that the smell don't really bother me. So,
Yeah.
I don't mind so much as I used to when I get it on my hands.
Yeah. So is it, let me ask you this. If you're walking down a trail, is it also a good idea to use a drag, or are you wanting to intersect trails and that's how you're really going to attract a buck?
Well, it depends on how much homework you've done. If you're gonna walk down a trail, using just that trail, and you're doing so because you've got your cams out and for the most part what deer are coming through there and when they're doing it, and you've got a pretty good shot they're going to be cruising that trail, then that's a good way to go. But if you're lacking that degree of certainty, if you cover multiple trails, that's just increasing your odds that something's going to pick up that scent.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what corridor they happen to be using at the time.
Yeah. What are the chances that, can a buck, when he crosses that scent trail, can he tell the difference in the age of a scent that's 100 yards apart? Like, for instance, if he starts backtracking the wrong way away from your stand, will he eventually figure out that he's going the wrong way and turn back around sometimes?
I don't know. I can't say with 100% certainty really, because I can't get inside his brain. I wish I could. But it's, obviously depending on his level of interest. Like if he's just driven to breed and going nuts and reaches the end of that trail, he may circle back. And I don't know why they wouldn't. If you ever watch hounds track a mountain lion, or if you ever watch, dogs tracking coons or bears or something, they'll head their own direction sometimes and circle back. And I have to think that a prey species would be similar.
Yeah.
Because they're using the same methods basically, except for they're not using it to survive. They're using it to reproduce.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How many days in the woods will one of these, wicks be effective? Like, can you hang this thing in a tree and come back and hunt the place 4 days later and assume that bucks are now raging because there's a doe and estrus that's been there for 4 days and they can't find her?
Yeah. Well, that's variable. We have great evidence. We've done a ton of research on these things. We've had deer activity as long as 20 days after hanging one. So they're still holding scent. And that's usually when it's drier. If you have a bunch of rain, it's going to wash that thing out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But they hold scent. That felt material holds that scent for a good while. It's effective for a good while. And honestly, especially in our mock scrape setups, you'll have deer coming into that thing the first couple of days, and then the deer are keeping that scrape fresh. It doesn't so much matter what the wick is doing anymore, because you've got actual deer coming in there and leaving scent all over the area. Yeah. So it's a good jump starter for that. But it does hold that scent very effectively, especially if you're not getting heavy rains.
Yeah.
So, kind of on that note, like the weather-related stuff, if you're hunting a more arid part of the country, is scent just more effective in an arid part of the country because it can travel further without being, dissipated or whatever by humidity or mist or whatever?
Yep. Humidity and temperature both play a role. The warmer it is, too, the further that scent will disperse. The air molecules are moving a little faster and further, so that scent's going to carry a little better. But we have great success at cold temperatures too. It's not a liquid product per se. It's soaked into that felt, so it doesn't freeze up solid. And it does a great job of dispersing scent even when it's super cold. But yeah, in an arid climate, like you said, you'll have a good opportunity there for it to carry a good ways, especially because usually in those arid climates, you get a little more air movement. You get a little more wind, you have it's not so stale, generally speaking. So that's good. But most of our research and testing is done in the rainforest of East Tennessee. So if they're effective here with the humidity that we have, it's a moot point.
That's good news for us because a lot of our research is done in the rainforest of East Texas. So I can only imagine those places are very similar.
Yeah,
lots of ticks and not a lot of deer. So it's awesome.
So what's the is there like a particular way to do the scrape thing, the mock scrape thing? Like, is there anything particular that we need to note when we set something up?
Oh, as far as what in particular are you thinking of?
Just, when you go in to set a mock scrape and you may or may not hang a camera on it, but regardless, you're going to be hunting over that mock scrape. Like how are you setting that up to, and is there a difference in like, I'm going to set this mock scrape up to, draw deer past me from a different part? Or I'm going to draw them straight to the scrape and I'm just going to hunt over it. Is there a difference there? And then what scent are you using? Like, is there a placement, a height, a side of the scrape? How does that all look for you usually? Yep.
What we usually do for our mock scrapes, like I said, we use that dominant bug, sometimes estrus doe as well. Always hang them at a licking branch height, clear away a spot using a stick usually. I don't like to use my boot just in case there's any kind of contamination of scent on my boot from something. I try to be pretty meticulous about not wearing I store my gear and my boots on my back porch, which is open air.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't wear them in the truck or anything, but you can't be too careful. So I like to use a stick to kind of scrape away that earth and make that mock scrape. Then we'll hang them at licking branch height. That way when a deer comes in, he's getting his face up, he is getting their face up in that branch at licking branch height and freshening up scent with preorbital of their own.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps to keep deer coming back in. And preorbital scent's very effective also on those licking branches. Had a lot of success. We'll sometimes locate a scrape that's actually made by deer, not a mock scrape, and take a licking branch from there and move it to wherever we're making our mock scrape so that we've got actual preorbital from deer on that branch.
Some bucks like, Dad gummit.
yeah, right. Yeah. But that's something that we do and find it effective. So yeah, and that's one of the things. We don't offer a preorbital scent right now, but we will.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me excited. I'm real interested in preorbital scent, and that's one of the things that I kind of wonder about with making mock scrapes. How smart are deer, right? Like this is the big overarching question that we all ask as hunters. But if you're getting tarsal and pea scent down in the scrape, that's good. But if it's up on the stick, are they ever like, well, that's weird because I don't know how that got up there, but I like the smell of it. Do they ever think that's strange, or just deer just so instinctive and hyped up on the rut at that point in time in the season they just don't care?
I don't have any experience of them finding it strange. I don't think that I don't believe deer are that intelligent. I don't think that they process things that way. I think they are programmed. I think that they are made to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you're thinking of a deer being super smart, chances are that thing's just scared to death and trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's doing what it can to preserve life. But I don't think that they have, and I don't mean that they're completely unintelligent. They obviously learn.
Sure,
they'll pick up a human scent. If a doe spots you in a stand, she's going to be looking at that spot next time she comes through.
Mm-hmm.
So they can obviously learn things. But as far as processing, why do I smell urine off the ground? I don't think they think that far into it.
Gotcha.
But
are you sure to go take the wick and dab it around on the dirt some before you put it up high, or do you just make a dirty spot and then hang the wick?
Honestly, sometimes I'll bury them just under the surface. Yep, just under the surface of the dirt. I'll take a razor knife and cut that wick off of the foil part. Bury it under the surface of the dirt just a little bit, And I always am very sure to go back and pull my trash. I'll get that thing out of there when I'm not going to be back in the area. But yeah, that wick will hold that scent. If you put it just under the dirt a little bit, then you've got some on the ground. But it is effective to just drag them back and forth on the dirt as well.
Yeah.
I just do that little berry technique just for potency.
That's a next level tactic right there.
Yeah,
That's the stuff, man. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. I hate to do this, but back to the drag real quick. I had a question about this because this is intriguing to me, man. But
sure.
What are like? Why doesn't a deer smell your boots, man? Why is that? It just has always felt counterintuitive to me to use a drag because it's like, well, this deer is going to be following my boot track the entire way in. I mean, what happens there, man?
Well, I think the important thing is to keep your boots as scent free as you can. Keep them from getting contaminated. Don't pump gas in them. Don't even put them on in your truck because your floor mat's got gasoline on it. Mm-hmm. If you get out and pump gas, obviously when you get in the truck, your shoes are going to have that scent in your floor mats. Mm-hmm. So any kind of contamination like that is important to consider. And also a big part of it for us is I think that the potency of the smell has a big part in it. I think that deer can smell the rubber in your soles, when it's coming through the woods. But I think that it's such a weak smell that it's not of high concern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see what I mean? Even boots that are kept in a scent lock container or whatever and never contaminated. What is that boot made of? Chances are it's something that deer aren't used to smelling.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as the dyes that are in that, I think they can break down scent on that kind of level. But I think that they also can gauge a danger level of sorts based on how strong that smell is and how long it's been since it came through. I think those are things that a deer's brain processes just instinctually.
So it's more of a keep your boot scent weak than it is this strong urine smell that is intriguing to the deer. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I think it's a combination. You want to keep those boots clean, but then also in the drag situation, you're using that potent urine, obviously not as a cover in that situation, but it's effective that way.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Kind of want to switch gears here real quick and talk about something that's not super fun, but CWD is an issue for people. And how are you guys circumventing that as an issue in the real scent game?
Well, our main concern, like I was telling you guys before, we have day jobs. This is a small family business. When you order a package of wild carrot, before that thing is taken to the post office, there's one of 3 pairs of hands put that thing together, and it's either me, my dad, or my mom. Mm-hmm. So, we're small time. We're not looking to get rich in the hunting industry. That's not how we came to be. And I know everybody says that, but it's really the truth. Mm-hmm. We enjoy hunting, and the industry just, it's a fun thing to be a part of. And we started developing that packaging system for our personal use and thought it might be something that would work at market. So that's how we came to be. But the CWD concern, it's real. It's obviously affecting litigation nationwide in different states. You find that there are urine bans, and exactly how involved urine is in the process of spreading CWD, nobody really knows. I have my own personal opinions, obviously. But just as far as staying ahead of that curve and combating that, our urines are all ATA certified. Our animals at the farm that we get our urine from are healthy. They're certified CWD free on a regular basis. We make sure that there's nothing but quality, healthy urine going into those packages to stop any sort of spread on our end. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing for us.
So what is the ATA certification? What does that mean to laymen?
Well, that's just going to the herd. They go through the herd. We have a veterinary setup. They come in and check everybody, all the deer, make sure everybody's healthy, disease free, and that has to be done so often throughout the year to meet ATA's criteria. Mm-hmm. And we're also part of their deer protection program. If if CWD wipes out all the deer, that sucks for all of us.
Right.
That's not good for us. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen just as much as anybody else. Without hunting, we lose our favorite pastime and our business, So investing in making sure that that's around for generations to come is more important to us than making sure that we can make a little extra money.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, for sure. And for those states that do have the urine ban and stuff, y'all do make a synthetic as well, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir, we do.
Yeah.
Actually, and Tennessee just, our home state just passed a preliminary sort of ban. This is a trial year, I think, on a natural urine ban. So it's happening around. Like Michigan, I know you have to have CWD certified, ATA certified products there. So it's different states are taking different approaches, and I think everybody's just scrambling to make sure we don't lose what we love. It's like when something that you have a deep connection with is threatened, sometimes you'll just do anything you can think of to make sure nothing happens to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's the stance that a lot of folks are taking. So we're just doing everything we can to make sure our products are high quality and waiting out the science, waiting it out to see, what we can actually confirm. There's a lot of unknowns out there at this point. So, as far as it affecting sales, we haven't really noticed any decrease. I mean, in Tennessee, you can't use natural urine and you can't bait. And if I go down to Walmart, I can't walk through the sporting goods department without tripping over tinks and corn. So, they're still selling, I think it's kind of like the mentality where a lot of these guys don't like somebody telling them what they can't do.
Yep.
So they're more likely to go out and get it if you tell them they can't have it.
Yeah, that's a good old Southern thing to do, man. That's just the way, it's that rebel in you, It's
That's right.
I'm going to show that guy, But no, everyone listening, please, abide by your state's laws and regulations. But no,
Absolutely.
That's interesting, man. And I was, looking at these packages and stuff when you sent them to us the other day, and I saw that ATA certification. I was like, I wonder if that's what that is. And it's cool to hear that clarification, and it gives me some peace of mind because Tyler and I both have some pretty heavy CWD concerns, and we're, I guess, in the believers classification or whatever. It's a real thing, man, and it's scary.
It is. It's for sure a real thing, and I'm not arguing that at all. But I think there are a lot of unknowns as far as transmission. It's hard to tell how many deer CWD actually kills when you have to kill them to test them.
Yes, exactly.
It's a strange situation that we have. So,
it is. Life was better before we knew about CWD. I feel like, it's weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing is life was better before we knew about it, but it was still there.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Before I knew about it, at least, it goes back to the 70s. I never heard anything about CW. It goes back to the 70s at least.
Yeah, I think
I never heard any.
Thanks to the 60s in Colorado is when they discovered it, I believe. So
that's right.
It's a long ways back there, man.
Yeah, and growing up hunting, everybody I knew hunted, and you never heard about CWD. My grandpa and my dad had every hunting magazine you can imagine. I never saw an article about it. It's just was a non-issue back then. But it's different now. But I think it's just with the spread of information we have, everybody wants to be careful not to ruin something great.
Yeah, which is a good thing, man, and that's good. And I'm so glad that y'all take the extra precautions that you do, and it gives me just a bunch of extra confidence because I don't know if we talked about this on air, but last year we had said we don't really want anything but the synthetic stuff, and and after kind of talking with you now, like I'm kind of full bore, use it all because it sounds like y'all are doing everything you can to make sure you've got a good and safe product for people to use because we all care about deer for the future. So it's awesome.
Yes, sir.
How effective is the synthetic as compared to the normal stuff, the real stuff, I guess?
It's very effective. Yeah. It's an all natural product. It's not. It's a synthetic deer urine, but it's not a synthesized liquid. So it's. I can't divulge too much info because it's proprietary. As far as how we make it, but it's very effective, man. We've got great footage of deer coming in and sniffing all over it. Not spooking on it. It's a good cover, and it's as good as you can get without being actual deer urine.
Yeah, that's cool, man. We used it last year for sure, and it definitely smells, to me, no different. So, for whatever that's worth, there's that. You've said several times, and I can't even smell that good, so whatever. But you said several times that we have videos of deer using this or doing this. Is that on a YouTube channel? How do people connect with you, and how do people find that kind of stuff?
Our Facebook and Instagram are the best methods for seeing that type of thing. We've got a little bit on our website as well. Our website is wildcarrotsense.com. Facebook and Instagram are Wild Carrot Deer Attractant. And I suggest checking us out on there because we try to be involved in the community as much as possible via our social media. We're, like I said, we're a small business, just family. So it's fun to be the one seeing those messages and responding to people and being involved, hands-on. But yeah, that's how you can find us. And we've got a lot of great folks across the country and states all over that are using our products and sending us pictures and videos. And it's just a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, that's
awesome, dude.
How do people actually get a hold of some wild carrot? Are y'all a direct-to-consumer, or can they find you in retailers, or how's it work?
We are direct from our website. We're also on Amazon, and we are distributed by Kinsey's, which supplies most of your archery shops.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the things we kind of pride ourselves on right now. We're not a box store company. So we're an artisan deer urine.
Ooh, I like it.
It's products like ours that are different that, we like to think that we're helping drive traffic to your mom and pop archery shops.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's something you can't go to Cabela's and buy. You can't go to Walmart and buy. You're going to go seek out your pro shop. And while you're there, you might learn something,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Especially me. Josh, thanks so much for spending the time with us, man. We appreciate the knowledge and clarification of all the different things that have to do with deer scents and attractants, man. And I can guarantee you these are things that I will use this year. I mean, this is a no smoke kind of deal, man. I learned a lot in this episode, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that with us, man.
I appreciate you guys having me on. It was good talking to you guys. It's not every day, you get to chat with some hillbillies from Texas.
There you go. I love it, dude. Thank you for calling us out. So. All right,
Takes
man.
one to know one.
Hey, there you go. Well, yeah, I'm sure there's banjo music playing somewhere near you right now. So. Well, cool, man. Well, good luck this year, and we'll be seeing you soon, man. I'm sure.
That sounds good. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, thanks.
Well, that didn't stink near as bad as I thought it would. Just kidding. Pun intended there. But, dude, Josh actually knows quite a bit about scent and about, how to use it. And
man,
I'm hyped about using a drag rag right now.
I know,
just so
dude.
you know. It's going to happen quite a bit this year, and I'm going to kill a giant bug.
Man, that's what you get with with this whole direct to consumer market that's starting to happen in our culture is you're getting some guys that are creating products that are very experienced and know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about, and it's not just some brand from some big city in the Midwest that owns a bunch of hunting brands, and they're just all about profits.
Yeah, just have a fast talking dude who's like, it's like a legit dude in the know who's done the research and hunts in a real part of the country and has seen it work. So it's cool, man. I'm looking forward to. I'm actually going to go put one of these out today on my property.
Yeah, I put one on my property yesterday, and as soon as I got them in the mail, saw we had some and put one out, and I'm kind of in this place where I've got a bunch of hogs raging my feeder right now, and I saw a doe come in yesterday morning on camera, and I just need a buck to come into our area on one of these cold fronts that's about to happen and smell that little rag, and think, oh, well, maybe I should hang around here a little closer. And, if I can just get him to come out in daytime, man, that's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's all we're trying to do is just kill a buck,
That's right. That's right.
Well, tomorrow, Friday, I guess what's Friday the 11th,
something like that.
The nation is going to experience a giant cold front. So wherever you're at, I hope that the Bucks get on their feet early and often, and you get to put an arrow through the big buck you've been chasing all season. It's going to be a great day for it, guys. Get out, be smart with your hunts, and man, it's like it's getting time right now.
I know, dude. If you're the jealous kind, don't be getting on social media the next few days because there's going to be some dead bucks.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's for sure. And that's a good point too, man. Honestly, like. Don't feel like everyone but you is killing a deer because guess what? We're probably not killing deer either. So yeah,
I'm already there.
Social media is just it's just what rises to the top. The bubbles are going to come to the top, and that's what you get to see, right? But there's a whole bunch of people out there grinding it out, and that's what makes it fun, man. Is if you went out and it was easy every time, you probably lose interest, and there's a reason that some people come and go in the hunting world, and. Usually that's probably because they picked up a trad bow and they get real tired of it real quick. Just kidding, Josh. I hope he has a good time this year with that because that's a cool story.
Yeah, no, it is. It is, man. And you know what's interesting to think about in regards to the social thing is like I know there's a kid that goes to my church and you know him, but he was like I saw where he posted something about X amount of days till rifle season. Mm-hmm. He's not a bow hunter. He loves to deer hunt.
Yeah.
And his season hadn't even started yet.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I mean, he's one of normal type of people. There's a lot of them out there that haven't killed a deer yet so far, including me. And I hunted 2 months ago nearly, coming up. By the time he hunts, I will have hunted 2 months prior.
Yep.
And I might not have killed a deer still by the time he gets a rifle in his hand and starts going. So you're not in the minority. There are millions out there that have not killed deer yet. So it's cool to think about. It's exciting to get prepared. This is the best time of year, honestly. Like October, knowing that November is so close is even better than just being in November sometimes. I feel like, it's like the anticipation that's what I used to love about duck hunting, man, is I'd go out and scout, the night before and find ducks that were loafing somewhere, and then when you find them and you're like, there's 300, in there, a bunch of mallards, you're like, it's going to be a good morning. And like, I almost didn't want it to come morning because I didn't want it to be over, I love that anticipation. So that's where we're at right now. And I'm sure you guys are anticipating the end of this podcast and for me to stop talking. So with that said, go buy a T-shirt if you're a public land hunter especially. We got brand new Blaze Orange T-shirts at the website, the Element Wild.
Doubles as a Halloween shirt because it's super
right.
orange.
Yep,
the lady we just saw walk across the parking lot had on a super orange shirt. I'm sure she's going to purchase one, so you better get there quick before she gets to them.
So festive.
But they're cool, man.
Yep.
For the public land guy or if you just want to be safe in the woods or just super fashionable.
Yeah.
They are.
Well, the neon thing is kind of in right now.
It is, man.
At least where we live, I feel like it is. There's more elk videos dropping, pretty much day to day. I've got most of it edited up. I think part 4 is going to have, there's a good chance there's over 150 bugles in this thing. I've already tallied up 172. Who knows what will get cut and what will stay. But that's just one day, guys. So it's a pretty incredible video. It's a little bit long, so make sure you don't turn it on until it's about 9 o'clock and you're starting to get ready for bed. But anyway, that's the kind of stuff we got going on. I appreciate the support, like KC said in the beginning of this podcast, you guys listening, downloading and all that. It means a lot to us. If you support us, support the brands that we work with and that we believe in, including Josh. We've got the link down in the show notes. Go check out what he's got going on if you want to try a drag rag or something like that. And I'm sure I will be too. So guys, get ready, get after it. Remember, this is your element.
Live in it.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24th, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.